News, notes, and analysis you need.
Go back. He looks, fires for the end zone. Intercepted. The 20, the 10, the 5. Touchdown. Not where. Midfield. He's at the 40. He's going to go. Desean back goal. He steps up. He's hit and falls forward. And he fumbles the football, and the Eagles have it. It's gone. And the Eagles win.
It's all birds. All the time.
And welcome to another edition of the AATBirds Weekly Report. I'm myself, Johnny Ulecka, is joined as always by Chip at Chip for the Birds. And we're going to talk a little bit about the coordinators speaking today, Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore. So we have those two guys. And then we're going to talk a little bit some Chip Kelly stories. So we get into that. Should be a quick episode here, but should be some fun.
Listen, I have just two things to say before we even start. Number one, I love Vic Fangio. He is a Philly guy through and through, and I can't wait to share that. Number two, I remember when the Eagles hired Chip Kelly as a coach. I called into one of these local radio stations, and I said that it was a terrible, terrible hiring. And I was told that I was the only one in Philadelphia that thought so.
Well, we found out that it was, but originally it wasn't because
yes, it was. It was because here was my reasoning. And you know what? I'm going to save it for when we talk about it. You know what?
Yeah,
Let's go with your agenda tonight.
So the coordinators speak today for the first time. You get Vic Fangio and get Kellen Moore. I think there was a lot more with Kellen Moore than there was with Vic. In terms of Vic was kind of like, he was kind of funny, kind of spry. Talking a little bit about, he's been 40 years. He started, across the street at the vet, talking about the Philadelphia Stars, I believe. But he grew up as a Philly fan. He has family in the area. I know they did say about that, the whole Jonathan Gannon timeline. I think he was their pick last year, but unfortunately everything went the way it did. He went to Miami, came back, which was great. Talked a little bit about, Jalen Carter and, to me, I think everything that he said was great. I think the Kellen Moore thing, I think was a lot more refreshing. Yeah. And the fact we know what we're going to get with Vic. But I think with Kellen Moore, him speaking, and I think the one big thing him saying is talking about the offense and everything that they're going to do. We're going to see change. And I think that's the biggest thing in terms of like he wants to do what they did right. He wants to kind of keep, but he wants to change it up. It is so refreshing to hear that, to know that there's going to be a change in the way the offense is run, in the schematics, everything along the lines of that we've been kind of asking for since last year, as seeing it go a little stagnant. I think that was really refreshing.
I think the thing that we also have to remember is we got rid of our coordinators because we know that things were not going right. We got rid of our coordinators because we know they were misusing resources, and quite honestly, they were not qualified for the jobs. That's why neither of them are doing much this upcoming season, right? In the same realm. The Eagles roster, top to bottom last year, was super strong, unbelievably strong, and they had an ultimate meltdown. So you had to replace them. They did. And they bring in two guys who don't have that long-term history with Nick Sirianni. So it's also on Nick Sirianni now to be that CEO head coach where he gets to manage things and let his offensive-minded guy do the offensive things and let his defensive guy do the defensive things.
Yeah, no, I think you're right there. Listen, I'm very excited with these guys coming in because they're not guys, coordinators that have maybe done it a year or green, or they're not as
Right.
experienced. But I think what a lot of people have to realize, yeah, the coordinators are seasoned and everything, but some of the coaches, the assistant coaches that they're the positional coaches that they brought in, I think is very underrated, and people aren't really focusing on that. And one is Clint Hurt, defensive line coach,
Yeah.
one of a very good defensive line coach. Of course, you still have Stout, which we know that's a great coach and what he does and everything like that. It's Doug Nussmeier, the quarterback coach. He's followed Kellen Moore. He was with the Chargers, was with Dallas beforehand. A guy like him, he coaches hard. He wants to get the best out of you, and I'm all for that. So I think a lot of the assistant coaches are kind of, I don't think they're talked about enough, the positional coaches, but I'm excited for that. Like I said, I can't wait for camps to start up. I can't wait for training camp. I can't wait to see the players on the field, who lines up where, who's getting more playing time, what are they kind of doing. I can't wait for all that, but it was just refreshing to hear those guys talk, positive, everything. They're still kind of learning because they're coming in, they're trying to trying to learn as much as they can from, what they saw last year, what kind of players they have in the room, what kind of players they picked up. So there's a lot there. And I know Vic mentioned it about, he's got to see on the, you got to see on the field on kind of what some of these guys are and who you have in that room. And, I think the one funniest thing that Vic said was they talked about this was the team that practiced the least amount.
Yeah.
And, he advocated for more practices, more. And then they said it was like kind of relaying it. Hey, about Nick, did you, and he goes, oh, you got to talk to Nick about that. About, is that what you said, when you got hired and stuff like that about doing that? Did you want to do more of, more practice? And he says, you have to talk to Nick about that. I thought that was a little, funny.
I think it's interesting I want to spend a little more time talking about Vic Fangio, because last year we had and even in previous years, we've had the Walmart bootleg versions of him. And I really like the fact that they went out and they got the guy, right? It's not this guy runs a Vic Fangio defense. No, we went out and got the guy. And it's great when you listen to the way that Vic Fangio talked to me. He talked about how he started his career in Philadelphia. He named about 75 different things that happened in Philadelphia, where he still gets his food from, and how he wants to kind of end cap it and put the end of his career now in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I think that he already gets it. So if you're going to bring in the outside guy so that he understands it, he's the perfect guy. And then you're not, like I said, running the bootleg version of his defense.
Yeah, you have the guy that, made the defense, run the defense, what you want. But no, I just wanted to talk a tiny bit about the coordinator speaking. But I think the biggest thing I want to talk about and get into, before we get to what you want to talk about, the Chip Kelly stuff, the Kenny Gainwell comments. He was on a podcast recently talking about, people not talking to each other, just how it all went awry and everything. Not specifically saying what he was talking about, but just to me, what it seems like he's insinuating is it's the whole the coaches not, communicating, because to me, that's what it kind of sounds like. Cause we heard about Kevin Byard and, them going to Desai and wanting to kind of run their own stuff and stuff like that. And then Matt Patricia comes in, he's running a whole different defense. I think there was just so much that was discombobulated in terms of in that room. And I could see Matt Patricia not talking to certain people, and, Sean Desai wasn't really communicating well. And then,
we saw it.
Yeah. And you saw the product on the field. So I think, to me, I just wanted to bring this up, just really brief, was I'm kind of glad this season is almost here in a couple months, because now, of course, you're going to still hear about it. You're going to hear about the collapse. You're going to, because they always talk about the previous season. You're going to hear about it. But I'm so eager and ready to start seeing training camp, the preseason, and getting into 2024 Eagles football, and kind of leaving that 2023 Eagles football behind. I think that's the biggest thing I want to do, because I'm so sick of hearing the stories, because it's the same thing. They're not going to say exactly what happened. They're going to, say certain things and kind of give you vague answers. And it's the same thing over and over and over again.
I think that again, it goes back to why were these changes made?
Yeah.
The NFL is a players league. I mean, we know that the players are the ones that make the money because they're the superstars. And when you have players begging coaches to do the right thing, it's never going to fly. And that's why they replace that's why they replace these guys. You know, we could say it over and over again, but that's why they replace these guys. And you went out and you got a young Kellen Moore who has had success offensively with teams with playmakers, which is what this Eagles team has. It's a team with playmakers. And Kellen Moore literally comes out and says, this is what we're going to do. We have these playmakers and we're going to get the most out of them. We're going to maximize. It's great. And then Vic Fangio, who is by no means a young fella. However, he's got an entire defense named after him that is run throughout the entire NFL. So it is I have done all these things already in my career and I will continue to do them now as a Philadelphia Eagle. So they went out and they got the right guys for the job. Point blank, they went out and got the right guys for the job.
Yeah, no, and I'm happy for it and everything, but now we're going to get into what you want to talk about. So Deshaun Jackson and LaShawn McCoy have their own podcast 2510.
I love
and they brought up and talked about the Chip Kelly and how he destroyed the Eagles. And I think I have a few views on it, but certain things that were brought up that I didn't know about. The one was the Rock Carmichael, a former defensive back for the Philadelphia Eagles, that Chip Kelly made him cut his hair to look more presentable because he had dreads. Not really dreads. I think he just had somewhat of dreadlocks. That to me, that's just blatantly ridiculous because if I'm not mistaken, looking back at those teams, trying to think of, was there anybody? Well, yeah, Riley Cooper had long hair, but he didn't have to cut his hair. Like, listen, it's, to me, I think that is so blatantly, unbelievably disgusting that he would do something like that and make a player cut his hair to look more presentable. There was another thing there. He didn't let him play music with curse words at practice. But then the one thing that they got into that I thought was interesting was the whole Howie Roseman thing. And how he was relegated to a different building. He used to come up, like McCoy was talking about, he used to come up and talk with them. And, he would say about prospects, who you looking at, stuff like that. They would talk. He would come in at practice, watch practice. He couldn't do any of that. He was relegated, none of that. I'll let you go on that. And then I have one more, something else I want to talk about on that because it has to do with Jeffrey Lurie and McCoy and something that happened that thankfully the owner did what he did. But go ahead.
So my reasoning why I never wanted Chip Kelly to run this team was very simple. There are certain types of college coaches that their offense does not translate to the NFL. You look at guys like Steve Spurrier, you look at guys like Chip Kelly. They run college offenses at an exceptional level because they go out and they get their guys to run their college offense. In college football, you get to recruit and bring in guys that only you want. In the NFL,
you didn't bring him up. Who's now running the Washington offense, but he ran the Cardinals and Kyler Murray.
Right. In the NFL, you get what you get, and you get what the salary cap allows. And for Chip Kelly to go, no, I'm bigger than that. I'm going to bring in only Oregon guys. Showed to me, I mean, you remember that with the Oregon Eagles, we were the Philadelphia Ducks for the longest time. And, the problem with the NFL is, it might work. And originally the offense worked great. We were high flying and it was exciting. But if you don't make the necessary changes, the team falls apart. And that's what we saw over and over again. So for Chip Kelly then to go ahead and blame the players for ineffectively running his college level offense is an abomination. And then he got rid of players that could have continued to have Hall of Fame careers. You know what I mean? LaShawn McCoy could have been a Hall of Famer. I don't think he is now. Deshaun Jackson could have been a Hall of Famer. I don't think he is now. They're Eagles Hall of Famers, But for him to strip that team the way he did because he thought he was bigger than the team is one of the most horrifying things in the entire Philadelphia Eagles history, in my opinion. And when you watch these scenes from this podcast today, they're calling up Brandon Graham, they're calling up Jason Peters, they're calling up Jeremy Maclin, and not one of these guys have nice things to say about this guy. Chip Kelly single-handedly closed a Super Bowl window that the Eagles had.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting because of it's going to be very interesting when they bring out like a big documentary about this in maybe another couple of years, because it's been so long. My thing with it is looking at it at a point. Yes, to cut Deshaun Jackson the way they did with no merit was
right. To
ridiculous.
actually put in falsities
Yeah.
to make your point stronger.
That was ridiculous. Trading LaShawn McCoy for Kiko Alonso. Again.
I don't have words for that one. I'm sorry.
You gave an extension to Riley Cooper, and then Jeremy Maclin would then go and sign with the Kansas City Chiefs with Andy Reid. Would go and sign with Andy Reid and the Chiefs. So you lost him. You signed DeMarco Murray. You get Sam
I
Bradford.
liked the DeMarco Murray move. I thought that was a reasonable move.
Ryan Matthews.
You built a team that almost could have been successful.
And almost traded Brandon Graham because he wanted Brandon Graham traded, but Jeffrey Lurie stepped in and said no, which that was the last straw type of thing, which is great because my only thing about it is this. It's tough to say if these guys would have stayed on the team, what could have been. I get that. But the way you look at it is this. With them trading LaShawn McCoy, they got Kiko Alonso. Well, they used Kiko Alonso and they used Byron Maxwell, who they signed. Mm-hmm. They used DeMarco Murray. They wind up using Sam Bradford the year after. You got Carson Wentz. I know everything happened along the lines of what happened with him, but he had that unbelievable 2017 season. You were able to weather the storm, and the storm was Chip Kelly.
Correct.
You were able to weather the storm of Chip Kelly to be able to be in position that you were in 2017. You got Nick Foles back. He was your backup, but you were able to trade all these guys and these assets to move up to be able to get your franchise quarterback at the time, and who had an outstanding MVP-like season in 2017. Yeah. You had certain pieces there. Does it suck that these guys weren't a part of that? Oh, absolutely. It did.
I know that when they look back at their careers, they will regret that. Like
I think that's
not like they had a choice, but they will have that regret about their careers.
Yeah, and listen, I think the show tonight is just basically kind of talking a little bit about what they did. It's not going to be, like I said, we're not going to be on, much longer. We're just doing something because this came out and everything. I thought it was great to be able to discuss this because there's a lot.
We were also hoping there would be a schedule release that we were going to discuss tonight.
Yeah, well, that too, but they
decided to push that back a week.
Well, it's going to be Wednesday. We're going to discuss it next Thursday, but it's just looking at it at a point. Yes. Do I wish Deshaun would have stayed the whole? Because remember, Deshaun came back in 2019, and
he wasn't the same.
He wasn't the same. I know that, but I'm just saying you would have loved to see him in 2014, 15, 16, 17. But you didn't. And the same with LaShawn McCoy. You didn't see it. And to me, I think there's a little bit of the way LaShawn was traded and everything along the lines of that they don't give away number 25. It hasn't been worn since LaShawn left. And I think that's something that maybe Jeffrey feels bad. I don't know. I know we've discussed the whole number thing, everything along the lines of that. But all I'm saying is
you feel very strongly about that.
Yes, I do. Maybe, unfortunately, I'm not saying it was a blessing they traded him, but the storm of Chip Kelly doing what he did made this franchise, this ownership, Howie Roseman, come
Yeah.
to the realization sometimes you have to make massive mistake to be able to figure it out and to be able to sustain success. Because if you take a look at the end of Andy Reid, that was dreadful. 2010, they lose in that wild card game. 2011, they go 8-8 with the dream team. 2012, they absolutely bomb and go 4-12. Andy's fired. You bring in Chip Kelly. Yeah, you go to the playoffs the first year, but then you start so well in 2014. Foles gets hurt. Sanchez comes in. You miss the playoffs because you choke away a playoff spot. And then 2015, you sign all these players. It doesn't amount to what you thought it was going to amount to. Chip Kelly's then fired a week before the season finale. And then you go into Doug. And I think the transition there was the realization of what you did. Now, there were still a couple of steps that needed to be taken, but it was that step that was taken from there that they were to realize and be able to somewhat continue some success, because you won a Super Bowl in 2017. You made the playoffs. You get a new head coach after Doug is gone, after you have a bad 2020, and you've made the playoffs the next 3 seasons and a Super Bowl appearance. So I think it's that storm. Weathering that storm is what this team did, and this franchise and organization did. The storm of Chip Kelly and getting rid of some top talent players and not getting the amount that they should have gotten for them. Everybody realized it. Ownership, general manager, the now general manager, Howie Roseman, and everybody else realized what that was.
I think that you've seen this a lot with the Philadelphia Eagles in the last couple of years. I mean, there have been mistakes made and they correct it. So my favorite example is the Justin Jefferson thing. Like, you decided to get cute and go for Jalen Reagor because you thought that he was going to be the answer. Well, he wasn't. And I don't think that Justin Jefferson would have thrived on the team as it was had we drafted him, but they have learned from that mistake. They had the chance to draft anybody but Devontae Smith a couple of years ago, and they said, no, we're going to go out and draft Devontae Smith. Why? Because he's the best wide receiver available. We're going to go out and get Jalen Hurts. Why? Because he's a top-tier talent who we can build a team around in a position that is so necessary. And you've seen that happen. We're going to go out and get Cam Jurgens, who's going to be the replacement for Jason Kelce. Not because Kelce's retiring.
What about the draft day trade for AJ Brown?
The draft day trade for AJ Brown. We're going to convert a first-round draft pick into AJ Brown, who's a first-round talent. And then we're going to sign guys early. We're going to set the market. I think that they've learned from their mistakes, and they've done this over and over again in recent history. And I think a lot of that started with trying to overcorrect the Andy Reid firing so much. So Andy Reid was so conservative, they went the complete 180, and they went out and got Chip Kelly, who was Mr. Innovative. He didn't work out, so they went and overcorrected again and went back to Doug, who was the Walmart version of Andy Reid, right? And then they finally went, you know what? Let's just get a guy who's a football guy. Let's just go out and get a football guy. And that's what we have in Nick Sirianni.
Yeah.
Or a competition-based guy.
Yeah. They learn from their mistakes. And I think there's a lot to this. We can maybe bring it up in a summer episode.
I mean, Johnny, I think about a couple of years ago, we sat on this show clamoring for the firing of Howie Roseman.
Yeah.
I mean, we made show after show saying that Howie had to go. And now I can't imagine saying that. Now I give Howie his flowers every chance I can.
Yeah. And I think, you look at it this way too. Howie was very reserved and very not on camera. He was behind the scenes. You heard from him every once in a while when they did the end of the season presser, the draft presser, and then basically you didn't really hear from him. He's doing radio shows. He's on Dan Patrick. He's on Pat McAfee. He's all over the place. He's becoming a lot more personable, and he's becoming basically the voice of the fans. And, anytime, like, he had the interaction in Houston a couple years ago with the fans, and, he understands, he gets it. And I think that's something that we all asked for. We wanted him to just understand us as a fan base, understand what we
that's
want
all we
in our
want from
team.
anybody.
And, he's learned from his mistakes, and he's mentioned it, he's talked about it. And I think he's becoming a very, very, very likable entity that I never thought that he would be. I think, you have some success. Okay, good. He's great. But now it's just like, you're waiting to see what kind of move he makes or what he does. Nobody's perfect. We're not saying that he's going to go 100% with all his signings and all his draft picks and all. It is
We don't
impossible.
know, right? We don't know if this year it's going to work. I mean, we saw what happened when he tried to fill in spots with Kevin Byard. It wasn't it. But I like that he took a chance. I like that he owns up to when those chances don't work.
But I think you have to look at it this way, though, too. When you take a look at Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie, and the Eagles front office, you can go maybe we'll just say the last 5 to 6 years. You take a look at how many executives, scouts, personnel people that they've lost to other teams in high roles. Not saying that they lost them to be another scout. They've lost multiple people to assistant GM positions. Brandon Hunt is interviewing with the New England Patriots for basically the lead personnel position, which is de facto the GM position in New England. And they've lost multiple people. And Andy Weidel went to Pittsburgh. You've had so many people that have left for big time executive roles, and the Eagles just keep churning and churning. And that is big time on Howie Roseman and the way that him and Jeffrey run that franchise and run that front office, and the way that they expect success, and how they develop their team and develop their roster construction and their draft boards and everything that they do, the scouting, everything that they do and put together. It shows, because day in and day out, year in and year out, someone is plucked here and there for a high role. And I think that has to be really looked positively when you take a look at the Eagles and their front office.
I think that the Eagles organization over the last 25 years, I mean, I want to go back to, 99 when they made the switch to Andy Reid. The Eagles organization has become synonymous with winning and what winning looks like.
Yeah, I agree with you. No, I absolutely agree with you. So I want to do 2 more things here before we wrap it up here. I want to go over the numbers were released so we can see how we did in terms of our choosing of the numbers.
Now, did we settle on standard deviation, or did we settle on how close? I don't forget what we did.
I just did if you picked it correct.
Great.
Too much math in the standard deviation I did not want to do.
Okay.
I got 2 of 9 correct. I got Dylan McMahon 63, and I got, of course, Trotters 54.
Right.
You got 4 of 9 correct. You had Cooper DeJean 33. You had
Trotter.
No, hold on. I lied. You had 3 of 9.
Okay.
Sorry. 3 of 9. You had DeJean's 33. You had Anais Smith's 82, and you had Trotter's 54. So that's pretty good. Pretty good by you on that. Now, before we wrap it up.
No, he's going to the computer screen. I can see it. I can see it in his face.
And we're going to bring this fun thing we haven't done since the season.
It's time for the Ulecka locks of the week. Who's your lock?
Oh, it is my lock.
Alrighty. So the schedule release is next Wednesday. Give me a prediction with the Eagles schedule that you're going to say is a Ulecka lock. Sorry, I know I put you on the spot. I didn't tell you about this one, but and you got to bring the music in too.
I don't know if this is a lock as much as it's a want. I am going to say that because the NFL knows the product that they have,
you son of a bitch, I know
with the Philadelphia Eagles,
You son of a-
And knowing that it's a lock that this team will play on this day, the Eagles will play the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving in Dallas.
Wow. Talk about ratings.
Was that
Kellen Moore
was that
returning
yours?
back to Dallas. It's pretty good. Think about it. Kellen Moore returning to Dallas.
Yeah, I think it's almost too good to pass up.
That is a good one. I'll give you that.
Did you think was that what the one you thought I was going to say?
No, I thought you were going to say something else. I thought you were going to say
The one that you're about to do.
No. I don't think this is happening. I just, I thought you were going to say Eagles on Christmas.
No.
All right. I'm going to make a Ulecka lock. That is going to be not so favorable, but it's something that we expect in terms of when you see the Eagles in a schedule release. I think towards the end of the year, the Eagles are going to have 3 straight road games.
Yeah.
By
that point, they've hopefully clinched home field, so let them.
Yeah. 3 straight road games. 3 straight road games. And I'm going to say this one. I'm going to throw in another one because I'm hoping this happens. I don't think it will, but I'm hoping. The Eagles will play the Giants within the first 5 weeks of the season.
Just get it out of the way. In the Meadowlands or here?
It doesn't matter because they always play them towards the end of the season. You know how they have it's Eagles Giants and then they play a game or two and then Eagles Giants again. The last 5 weeks of the season, they're always playing the Giants twice. They don't play them early in the season. So that's what I'm going to go with. Eagles play New York Giants within first 5 weeks.
I feel really, really good about mine.
So it's going to be fun. We are going to be also joined by Mike Bauer. He's going to come on as well. But yeah, it's going to be fun. I love the schedule because you kind of see when they play, some primetime games they play, some type of what games you want to go and see. If there's a travel destination you want to go to, all that's in play. So I can't wait for that. But with that,
is this a situation where I'm going to have a schedule record prediction for Thursday?
No, I don't think we should do record.
Okay, good, because I'm not ready for that yet.
We can go with how we can grade the schedule in terms of how the NFL, lined up the Eagles.
Screw the Eagles, yeah.
Yeah. So
starting with Brazil,
there's that, but we'll get into that. But with that, it's a short show this week, but we thank everyone for tuning in and make sure you hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate it. Keep track of our content. The handles are all down at the bottom and got a lot of fun stuff planned. Just keep an eye out. And with that, go Birds.
Go Birds.
This is Matt Ware. Hey, for all the Eagle content you need, go follow All About the Birds. They do a damn thing. Check them out.
Hey, Eagles fans, I may be in Tampa, but I know where to find the best Eagles content out there. Check out my friends at All About the Birds.
Philadelphia, what's up? This your boy Freddie Mitchell, a.k.a. Fred X. It's all about the bird.
All birds all the time. All birds all the time.
All About the Birds provides you with weekly analysis, game recaps, informative interviews, and it's all birds all the time.